Alright, Travel with Best. I want to give y'all a recap of my adventurous ride back. Yeah, it definitely was adventurous. It had a lot going on as far as the weather. So, now on Saturday when I was about to leave Oakland, it dawned on me. I'm like, you know what? Let me check the weather and see what the weather's going to be like before I get on this road. So, I checked the weather, said that it was going to be snowing, or light snow, in that direction that I was going on I-80. So I'm like, all right, man, let me go ahead and get up out of here before it gets too bad. So I got on the road. I passed Sacramento, and now I'm starting to see they got a checkpoint for the truckers to make sure they have their chains ready. So I already know something's going on in the mountains. So I'm like, all right, let me just see. Let me see how it goes. You know, if it gets too bad, they're gonna turn people around anyway. So I just kept going. You know, I said, I'm just gonna take a chance. We'll see what happens. So I'm rolling. So as you're going up the mountain, it starts raining. So I'm like, all right, I know this rain is at some point it's gonna turn into snow. So I keep going. So that's when I made that video. I recorded that video to show how it was looking. But as bad as that video looked, it hadn't got to the point where they set up that checkpoint, because when it gets really, really bad, they'll set up the checkpoint to make sure you good as far as with your snow tires or chains or all that other stuff. So I kept going, and I'm like, I knew that once I got to the top of the mountain, I'd be good, because once you get so high, now it's time to start coming down, and you don't really have to deal with the once you start coming down, the snow pretty much fades away. 30 minutes after the video, I was in Reno and the snow was gone. So I kind of figured I'd be good, but you know, it was starting to get bad, and I knew that at some point they was gonna set up that checkpoint and start turning people around. So anyway, I made it through that. I drove about 600 miles that day. I ended up making it to Utah, the Nevada-Utah line. I spent the night there. Woke up the next morning, it was starting to snow. It was like snow flurries. So I'm like, all right, let me start rolling. So I just assumed that weather system that I encountered on Saturday, it was moving east toward Utah. So I'm like, all right, let me keep rolling. Got up early that morning, and that's when I recorded the video on my story of how the visibility was really, really bad. You couldn't really hardly see anything. So I ended up making it to Salt Lake City. It kind of cleared up a little bit, but then it was starting to rain in Salt Lake City. So I ended up making it through that. Next up was Park City. So once I got to Park City, now you're going back up the mountain, and it's more snow. As you go up the mountain, it's more snow. So I'm like, all right, man, I'm hoping I can make it through this. And it's so crazy. I'm like, man, you got to have you some good tires. While you up in the mountains, you can't be playing about that, because it really feels like any sudden move will cause you to start sliding. Now, I mean, that's the feeling that you get when you rolling. So I'm like, all right, man, I'm hoping I can make it through this. So I end up making it out of Utah, and the next state is Wyoming. Wyoming actually was pretty. It was nice in Wyoming. The weather was good, but that weather system was headed their way, because they was warning people with the highway sign. The signs were saying, be prepared for hazardous weather, black ice, blowing snow. That's what it was saying. So I'm like, all right, man, I got to keep going. But I had like 400 something miles to get through Wyoming. So I ended up making it out of Wyoming, and I was done with the mountains, because you got to pass over the Sierra Nevada mountains and then the Rocky Mountains of Wyoming. So I made it out of there. Ended up making it into Nebraska. I made it far enough into Nebraska where I didn't really have to deal with the weather. That wasn't an issue. So I got me a room later on that night. I'm watching the news. Now they talking about tornadoes and heavy rain in the southeast, which that's the direction I'm headed, because I got to get home. I got to go that way to get home. So anyway, I end up pretty much getting by that. So I had to duck and dodge bad weather this whole trip back. But you know, it definitely was adventurous. So I ended up doing 600 miles the first day. I did 8 the second, 6 the third and fourth day, and another 8. I got 8 left. This is the last day. I got 8 left, and I'll be back home. But you know the crazy thing about out there in some of those states, like Nebraska, Wyoming, Nevada, Colorado, and Kansas, I noticed that they got like those railroad crossing gates on the interstate, and they have signs saying that if once the lights flash, the gates will come down, and they tell you to exit here and go back. That's what the signs say. Like, nah, you can't continue. I guess on a certain stretch of road on the interstate, the weather is just too bad, and they'll make you get off. And I don't know what you're gonna do. You either go back or just gotta camp out in your ride or whatever. But yeah, it's crazy out there. So I think I'm gonna take another route. You know, the next time. That's like my 3rd time coming that way. So I'll take another route and just go a safer way next time. But anyway, like I said, it definitely was fun. It was adventurous, to say the least, and I made it through. So I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.